Morning.
So my name is Krishna and I've just been told that there is some technical problem with the presentation I had, but that's all right. So I just wanted to start with an idea. We've heard a lot today from very meaningful thoughts from all the speakers about what I call the problem of the front office, which is we have silos. We have sales, marketing, service, nowadays we have commerce. We have ecosystems who actually deliver value to our customers. And we have employees who impact the customer experience every day. So I wanted to ask all of you a question. This is obviously an incredibly complex problem. Organizational structures, ecosystems who operate on our behalf on whom we don't have control, employees on whom it's very difficult to exercise control. What do you think we as businesses or as marketers could actually do to solve this? Any ideas? And let's take software out of the syllabus, as Dr. Amit told us in the morning. CRM is not about software. So how do you think we can orchestrate a great experience? Any ideas? Otherwise, sir, we will be left in the role of a doctor who can call the symptoms but prescribe no medicine. So Anybody who has experienced this, you have managed to orchestrate your customer experience in spite of all these obstacles and challenges.
I think passion to working to resolve the problem is the first attempt which involves the customer. He sees the responsibility that they are trying to solve my problem. So an empathy towards your problem.
So I'll just amplify your answer. So empathy is the first step. But sir, the challenge is you and I may experience empathy, but we just heard about this vast canvas of different people who are not in our control. So our empathy manifests to the customer how?
If you're looking at an organization, it's an organization view which you have to build. It cannot be in isolation, a process or a team which will deliver this.
Yeah, okay.
It has to be experience on a day-to-day basis.
So how do you create organization behavior? Aligned. So assume we empathize and we have to make the organization, which is in large companies, literally thousands of people across employees, partners. How do we make them behave like that? Align the vision. Vision is usually this little board stuck in the office which nobody reads.
Vision is just like a pigeon in the operation.
Sorry?
Vision is just like a pigeon. It remains there.
Vision is just like a pigeon.
Yeah,
I like
like
the poetic sense.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So I would say, these days, most of the employees are educated. It is very difficult to manage, as you said very rightly. So you don't have to control them, you have to empower them. Give them the responsibility, and chances are 90% or 95% of those, they will achieve that. This is my way of thinking, and I have done that also.
Okay, so empower your employees. Okay, great answer. But how do you empower employees?
See, there is a sense of responsibility, sense of urgency. You have to teach them, train them, and this should percolate from top to down. This will never come from the bottom to up.
Before I joined SAP, I used to work with HCL Technologies.
Yeah.
I worked there for 12 years. And I worked with a gentleman called Vineet Nair, who created a philosophy called employees first, customers second. And Vineet frequently used to say, employees first does not mean employees free.
Yeah.
They can't do whatever the hell they want to do. So once again, how do you control?
See, his vision was, I haven't worked with him, but I believe, like his idea was that you are backing up the employees. Whether he is doing wrong, you have to teach, train them, correct them, rectify, and make them sure this error should not repeat next time.
Yeah, so we
I'm saying in the practice.
So this idea of wrong or right, wrong or right? How do we get there? So hold that thought. So
Yeah.
that's a great thought. You had something, sir?
I think
You know, I must say, guys on the left, you know, this is
No,
heavily
once you-
unbalanced.
Once
This
you're
right
finished
brain
with
that
them,
I'm
then
here.
maybe
We
we'll
need some left brain here.
thanks, Dushyant. See, building an empathetic environment in an organization does not mean a soft environment. Empathy means do I empathize with you as my customer? So your customer centricity has to be internal as well. So any role is a role and not a level. It's the first empathy we need to do.
Sir, these are great thoughts.
No, that's the reality.
How do you make them reality?
That's
my
reality.
question.
That's the reality. I have experienced this. I've been part of HCL Technologies. I'm in the BPO services division. So, and I have experienced the empowerment that HCL used to be with the sensitivity to your passion, wanting to achieve something.
Sure, no doubt. And there's a reason that happened, which I'll come back to. Anybody else? Anybody on the left? Yes, madam.
I think marketers should first they pick up whatever before making any strategy. First, they need to be a customer to experience what customer is looking forward.
Which is empathy.
Empathy. So I mean to say that can be calculated when you experience all those gaps, what customer is going through and which customer is actually facing. Then only you can have those strategies. You can get a clue to strategize your way, something like that.
So, you know,
Empathy is there, but empathy should not be there in the mind, but it should be in the action.
so there are different kinds of people. So marketers, absolutely, you're right. I run two portfolios at
Because
this.
marketer, they make strategy as a marketer, not as a customer.
So, madam, I'll tell you the problem. I am also the chief customer officer of SAP. So, I am responsible for all post-sales support. Nowadays, I ask support engineers that the email you wrote to the customer, if somebody were to write that same email to you, would you be happy? You know the answer?
Obviously, there is no.
No, they say yes.
Because they are into employee shell. They have to come out of that.
No, they are support engineers. That's the way they see life. You had a problem, I told you the problem is not my problem. But I told you you can go somewhere else and get it solved. Customer's not happy. I've done my job. That's the way. All I'm trying to communicate is there are different human beings who are part of our organization and the ecosystem. They have different cultural makeups, they have different sensitivities, they think differently. So just because as marketers we can exercise great empathy does not translate to anybody else in the system. A sales guy who is meeting a customer and has a sales target to close for the quarter, he is not going to show empathy. There is a big problem when you take self-interest and when you take our cultural makeup and you say you have to behave differently. How do you make a person behave differently? That is my question to this group.
I'll tell you what, I don't think there's a singular answer. I mean,
There is
for
actually.
example, in Apollo tires, we have 13 different categories and we make from 8-inch to 15-inch tires. Now, there's lots of this stuff you can do. You can get the communication right, you can empower, you can get the training right, you can get the process right. But if I were to say a single medicine for all of this would be, how do you measure and how do you reward a behavior within the organization, not just for the front line, but across the organization? If there's a strategic fit in terms of what behaviors are you willing to reward, recognize, appreciate, that in itself will drive and behavior. And what he talked about downstream learning, that gap that exists between what you think in your executive committee room and what really then gets translated at the customer premise across at the touch points. I would imagine you could.
So let me give you my answer. So that I think there is one way you can do it. Because remember, to change human behavior at scale requires massive investment. This fundamentally is the largest investment anybody can make. So it's not going to happen through some policy and through some training and through some HR. It typically doesn't. However, there is one thing organizations make that kind of investment. The second qualifier is, if I need to change behavior, I have to give you an idea which inspires you to change behavior. So when Mahatma Gandhi said quit India,
Sense of purpose. Right.
it's not just for, so, when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, these were ideas which changed society, because millions of people unconnected to that individual said, I believe in this and I will act accordingly. So my argument, ladies and gentlemen, is that is your brand. All of us make massive investments in the brand, and if you cannot use the brand for customer centricity and to alter behavior across the ecosystem, then that brand is not going to do any good, not in today's world. And that actually is what Vineet Nair did, because Vineet Nair made employees first, customers second, the HCL brand. During the period, he ran that organization. My subject today is around building customer-centric brands. And I think in today's world, this is, as marketeers, the singularly most important thing that we can do. Because if we cannot use that weapon in our arsenal, in which we spend most of our resource, we have a hope in hell of putting policy and asking people to empathize or do this or do that. They are not going to change. We have to give them an idea, and we have to invest in that idea so much that everybody connected to our business starts behaving in that fashion. And I want to, I understand the paucity of time. So let me just get through. So here is a model I want to leave you with today, and I'll walk you through a bit of this model. How do you construct such a brand? And you will find that great brands, Apple is arguably the world's most valuable brand. Apple was built with one singular idea, think different, be the iconoclast, and they brought that into every single business they did. And that's why their customers, their partners, their employees all believe in that one idea. And the way such ideas are built, and let me explain this through a small example in these 4 layers. Supposing I met Amit, and Amit was an employee of GE. How many businesses does GE have? Anybody know? We won't know because GE itself doesn't know. But GE has over 100 different businesses. But when I met Amit at a cocktail party, and Amit's right there behind us, and he told me that he's from GE, in my mind I thought Six Sigma quality. It doesn't matter which business he belongs to, this guy gets quality, and that's identity. Now in our conversation subsequently, I discovered that he works in GE's lighting business, and they have cracked the art of sustainable lighting. Now I know that he stands, his positioning is clear to me. And I'll explain what are the concept of positioning. Then I tell Amit, I recently bought a house in Noida, and I painted one wall burgundy, and I've been trying to light that wall, but I'm not getting that color. So he says, hey, I've got some guys in office, and we can come to your house and tell you exactly what lights you should use, and you will get the color. That's proposition. And finally, Amit goes back to office and says, with so many home buyers these days, and given the real estate market is now in recovery, why don't I package this and build a campaign out of it for all new home buyers in terms of how they can most beautifully light their house to bring out whatever it is that they want to do in that house. And that's your go-to-market campaign. When these 4 are tightly locked, you can actually start building brands. But here's the beauty. I want to walk you quickly through what we do at SAP to explain how can you convert this model into a customer-centric model. So let's take SAP's identity. So at SAP, we said, and every layer of this we work on bringing the customer in. In identity, this is our statement. We improve people's lives and make the world run better. However, when you look at India, how do you manifest this statement in India? So we said, in India, what is the single largest problem we face as a society? There is no doubt in anybody's mind that this is the world's most significant growth market. However, the problem that we have faced for many decades is growth in India is not inclusive. So the rich keep getting richer, and half the population still remains close to the poverty line. So we said, what can we do about this problem? And we sat down and said, what value can SAP offer? We believe SAP can offer massive value in digital literacy, but we don't have any reach. Then we discovered SAP's customers pay 75% of India's corporate tax. SAP's customers have all the reach that you can ask for, and we created a program which you can research at your leisure called Code Unnati. Code Unnati, we started with ITC and L&T, and then RPG Group joined, and now several other corporates are doing it. In Code Unnati, we go to semi-urban and rural locations that these companies serve. They open a Code Unnati center in those villages, and the rural youth there are trained. There are 5 tracks for digital literacy. They are trained in how to become digitally literate. The implication on their income and employment has been dramatic, because the beauty of digital literacy is it's like teaching people how to fish instead of giving them fish. As many of you are aware, the minute somebody has access to digital content, their ability to self-learn, self-train, make themselves more relevant is huge. In the last 1 year, we have opened 500 Code Unnati centers, and we have over 800,000 youth who have been through this program already. Our goal when we launched it last year, which was 2017, was to have 1 million by 2020. Now we believe we will cross 1 million in the next 3 months. So we are now saying we will do 3 million by 2020. So that is, now this, you will not hear about this perhaps for a long time, and as I said, if you research, you will find out about it. But over a period of time, in India, we will start demonstrating as SAP an identity around inclusive growth driven by technology. That is number one, and remember, only possible because we are working with our customers who are actually creating the access and the reach necessary. Now let's take a quick look at the concept of positioning. Positioning has 3 aspects. So there's target audience, frame of reference, and point of difference. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Positioning is not USP. Positioning is not what my consumer thinks about me, because that would require brain surgery to elicit. Positioning is triangulation of these 3 things. And you can build brands on any of these. Femina is positioned because it targets women. Now, if you look at how to play with some of these things, some of the great Indian campaigns. Do you recognize the first image? The lady over there? Anybody know who she is? Lalita ji, creation of a gentleman who recently passed away, Mr. Padam Singh. This was a great example of building a target audience, which was the urban educated housewife. And Unilever then wrote this positioning like crazy to build mega brands which were not price competitive with local competition. So target audience gave you a position. Another campaign I really love, this is a frame of reference campaign. When 7-Up was launching, 7-Up was the fastest growing beverage brand in the history of soft drinks. When 7-Up launched, these guys sat down and said, what market is lime and lemony carbonated beverage? 2%. Where do you think the giant market was? It was cola. It's a frame of reference campaign. So here's a 2% player creating an uncola, targeting 95% of the market and saying, hey, that's my frame. I am not in that lime and lemony frame at all. And finally, Apple, one of my favorite examples on point of difference. Apple took point of difference to such an extreme that finally they could start playing around with the other variants. So they could target different markets. They targeted computers, they targeted music, they targeted phones, they targeted watches. They can go target different markets, place themselves in different frames of reference, because the idea that they created was so compelling that everybody followed that idea. And today, if you see the troubles Apple is going through, it's because that idea is not as manifest as it was when Jobs was around. So, if you think about these 3 things, and let me quickly give you the SAP context. SAP's target group is actually organizations who believe that technology is a source of competitive advantage. And I can't stress this enough. In India, so I've seen global markets, I've seen Indian businesses. Why startups are stealing a march over traditional businesses? Indian boards and CEOs do not fundamentally believe that any business problem can be solved through technology. They believe that I can solve problems by throwing people at it. So let me set up more warehouses, let me put more trucks on the road, let me hire more people and I'll solve the problem. Now, remember, Uber set up that business in India with 2 people. Uber has 500,000 drivers today in this country. 2 people created that entire business. That's the power when you sit down and say technology can solve business problems. Our first definition at SAP is those are the businesses that are in our target audience. What's the frame of reference? SAP's frame of reference has ceased to be software. It has even ceased to be technology companies because SAP's footprint today is so pervasive within an enterprise. SAP seeks a frame of reference of strategic advisor. SAP is right up there with a McKinsey, Bain, with a different value proposition, which is it's not PowerPoint. The differentiation you seek, the strategy you seek can be manifested through technology. And finally, the point of difference that SAP offers is something quite interesting, and it is completely customer driven. And to demonstrate it, I'll see if this film, if a film can run. Can we have some sound? Do you have sound on this? So you will see the brand film today that SAP runs with an actor who is not very well known, but to the people he is known, he seems to have very high standing. Will you confirm to me or should we just move on? Let's try it. Nope. Okay, we'll come back and see if it's possible to play that. But in effect today, that film, what it shows is every problem in the planet can be solved by business. This is the fundamental idea that it starts with. So, and the issue today that I think SAP has begun to cognize is businesses have become pan-global. So governments do not have the power anymore to shift societies and to shift individual behavior, the problem we were talking about, as much as businesses can. And if businesses therefore do wish to do good, they can fundamentally alter the world we are living in. So whether you're talking about poverty, whether you're talking about pollution, whether you're talking about global warming, any of these things today we talk about, businesses have a better shot of solving it than parochially driven local government interests. And that is where SAP wants to play. So today if a brand or if a business, one of our clients today is completely driven by the intention to be the world's most sustainable business, that's the conversation we are driving with them. How do we do that? Finally, let's go to proposition. Now this proposition, I'm not going to read it out, you can read it on screen, is actually the perfect definition of a digital business. You could actually write this down for your business, take all of these factors and criteria and check box. That is your business model intelligently connecting people, things and businesses. And once more, remember, going back to the original conversation we started with, intelligently connecting people, things and businesses is the best hope we have if we are going to create a great customer experience, because the quality of the customer experience we generate is delivered by all of these things. Our processes, our assets, our employees, our partners, our entire ecosystem. And today the beauty is there's a whole host of technology available, much like the Uber example I gave you, which enables this to happen. Today remember when your Uber driver asks you for a 5-star rating, it's a customer experience outcome driven on the back of what technology is, driven on the back of exactly what's written on this slide. So that is the core proposition that we are driving. And what I had after this, since we don't have sound, but and therefore I'm not going to play all this. But what I'm trying to show you is for every one of those statements, we have customer stories. This is Cirque du Soleil. So when as SAP today, we put this statement up on this slide for you to take a look at, our purpose is not to deliver this proposition standalone. The go-to-market, remember level 4 in the brand stack. The go-to-market is completely designed around customers being able to tell you these things. And I picked 3 stories, but there are literally thousands of such stories that are available to us. And that actually is a very, very powerful contribution. Now remember, to do that in our business model, we have to ensure that our sales teams, that our services teams are all aligned to saying that ultimately you will get a customer who is able to give back your proposition as an advocate to all other customers. Now the minute your business model is designed like that, willy-nilly, the front office teams that you deploy in the market will alter their behavior in order to give your brand message through the eyes and the mouth of the customer. So that's broadly what I wanted to share as an idea, that the brand is the single biggest investment we make which can transform behavior within our ecosystem. And there are ways and means for you to build customer dependence. So with that, I rest the session unless there are some questions. Thank you very much. Have a great day. They opened a Code center in those villages, and the rural youth there are trained. There are 5 tracks for digital literacy. They are trained in how to become digitally literate. The implication on their income and employment has been dramatic, because the beauty of digital literacy is it's like teaching people how to fish instead of giving them fish. As many of you are aware, the minute somebody has access to digital content, their ability to self-learn, self-train, make themselves more relevant is huge. In the last 1 year, we have opened 500 Code centers, and we have over 800,000 youth who have been through this program already. Our goal when we launched it last year, which was 2017, was to have 1 million by 2020. Now we believe we will cross 1 million in the next 3 months. So we are now saying we will do 3 million by 2020. So that is, now this, you will not hear about this perhaps for a long time, and as I said, if you research, you will find out about it. But over a period of time, in India, we will start demonstrating as SAP an identity around inclusive growth driven by technology. That is number 1. And remember, only possible because we are working with our customers who are actually creating the access and the reach necessary. Now let's take a quick look at the concept of positioning. Positioning has 3 aspects. So there's target audience, frame of reference, and point of difference. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Positioning is not USP. Positioning is not what my consumer thinks about me, because that would require brain surgery to elicit. Positioning is triangulation of these 3 things. And you can build brands on any of these. Femina is positioned because it targets women. Now, if you look at how to play with some of these things, some of the great Indian campaigns. Do you recognize the first image, the lady over there? Anybody know who she is? Lalita ji, creation of a gentleman who recently passed away, Mr. Padam Singh. This was a great example of building a target audience, which was the urban educated housewife. And Unilever then wrote this positioning like crazy to build mega brands which were not price competitive with local competition. So target audience gave you a position. Another campaign I really love, this is a frame of reference campaign. When 7UP was launching, 7UP was the fastest growing beverage brand in the history of soft drinks. When 7UP launched, these guys sat down and said, what market is lime and lemony carbonated beverage? 2%. Where do you think the giant market was? was cola. It's a frame of reference campaign. So here's a 2% player creating an uncola, targeting 95% of the market and saying, hey, that's my frame. I am not in that lime and lemony frame at all. And finally, Apple, one of my favorite examples on point of difference. Apple took point of difference to such an extreme that finally they could start playing around with the other variables. So they could target different markets. They targeted computers, they targeted music, they targeted phones, they targeted watches. They can go target different markets, place themselves in different frames of reference, because the idea that they created was so compelling that everybody followed that idea. And today, if you see the troubles Apple is going through, it's because that idea is not as manifest as it was when Jobs was around. So, if you think about these three things, and let me quickly give you the SAP context. SAP's target group is actually organizations who believe that technology is a source of competitive advantage. And I can't stress this enough. In India, so I've seen global markets, I've seen Indian businesses. Why startups are stealing a march over traditional businesses, Indian boards and CEOs do not fundamentally believe that any business problem can be solved through technology. They believe that I can solve problems by throwing people at it. So let me set up more warehouses, let me put more trucks on the road, let me hire more people and I'll solve the problem. Now remember, Uber set up that business in India with 2 people. Uber has 500,000 drivers today in this country. 2 people created that entire business. That's the power when you sit down and say technology can solve business problems. Our first definition at SAP is those are the businesses that are in our target audience. What's the frame of reference? SAP's frame of reference has ceased to be software. It has even ceased to be technology companies because SAP's footprint today is so pervasive within an enterprise. SAP seeks a frame of reference of strategic advisor. SAP is right up there with a McKinsey, Bain, with a different value proposition, which is it's not PowerPoint. The differentiation you seek, the strategy you seek can be manifested through technology. And finally, the point of difference that SAP offers is something quite interesting, and it is completely customer driven. And to demonstrate it, I'll see if this film, if a film can run. Can we have some sound? Do you have sound on this? So you will see the brand film today that SAP runs with an actor who is not very well known, but to the people he is known, he seems to have very high standing. Will you confirm to me or should we just move on? Let's try it. Nope. Okay, we'll come back and see if it's possible to play that. But in effect today, that film, what it shows is every problem in the planet can be solved by business. This is the fundamental idea that it starts with. So, and the issue today that I think SAP has begun to cognize is businesses have become pan-global. So governments do not have the power anymore to shift societies and to shift individual behavior, the problem we were talking about, as much as businesses can. And if businesses therefore do wish to do good, they can fundamentally alter the world we are living in. So whether you're talking about poverty, whether you're talking about pollution, whether you're talking about global warming, any of these things today we talk about, businesses have a better shot of solving it than parochially driven local government interests. And that is where SAP wants to play. So today if a brand or if a business, one of our clients today is completely driven by the intention to be the world's most sustainable business, that's the conversation we are driving with them. How do we do that? Finally, let's go to proposition. Now this proposition, I'm not going to read it out, you can read it on screen, is actually the perfect definition of a digital business. You could actually write this down for your business, take all of these factors and criteria and check box. that is your business model intelligently connecting people's things and businesses? And once more, remember, going back to the original conversation we started with, intelligently connecting people, things and businesses is the best hope we have if we are going to create a great customer experience, because the quality of the customer experience we generate is delivered by all of these things. Our processes, our assets, our employees, our partners, our entire ecosystem. And today the beauty is there's a whole host of technology available, much like the Uber example I gave you, which enables this to happen. Today, remember, when your Uber driver asks you for a 5-star rating, it's a customer experience outcome driven on the back of what technology is, driven on the back of exactly what's written on this slide. So that is the core proposition that we are driving. And what I had after this, since we don't have sound, but and therefore I'm not going to play all this, but what I'm trying to show you is for every one of those statements, we have customer stories. This is Cirque du Soleil. So when as SAP today, we put this statement up on this slide for you to take a look at, our purpose is not to deliver this proposition standalone. The go-to-market, remember level 4 in the brand stack. The go-to-market is completely designed around customers being able to tell you these things. And I picked 3 stories, but there are literally thousands of such stories that are available to us. And that actually is a very, very powerful contribution. Now remember, to do that in our business model, we have to ensure that our sales teams, that our services teams are all aligned to saying that ultimately you will get a customer who is able to give back your proposition as an advocate to all other customers. Now the minute your business model is designed like that, willy-nilly, the front office teams that you deploy in the market will alter their behavior in order to give your brand message through the eyes and the mouth of the customer. So that's broadly what I wanted to share as an idea, that the brand is the single biggest investment we make which can transform behavior within our ecosystem. And there are ways and means for you to build customer-driven brands. So with that, I rest the session unless there are some questions. Thank you very much. Have a great day.